Okay, back. Hopefully. Hopefully, guys, you can hear me again. Okay, good. Wayne, you can hear me and see me. All right. Ever since I've come back from Oshkosh, for some reason, and I keep looking down here because I've got a router right down here beside me. And for some reason, it's been intermittent for the last 2 days, and I don't know why. And I am not a computer whiz by any means. Good. Uh, hey, Sean, how are you? Welcome to the virtual bar night for the Lesson from the Cockpit show. Okay, so I'm going to move to another discussion about the A10s. A lot of people were talking that's probably the last time we'll see A10s at Oshkosh. And I think the A10s leaving the Air Force inventory is a travesty. I understand they're old airplanes. I understand that they have put Band-Aids on the pig and they've put all kinds of new stuff on it. It is still, repeat, still, in my opinion, a lethal platform that we should continue to use. Yeah, Sean, exactly. An outstanding ground support airplane. Not only does it do close air support, does the rescue mission, CSAR, maritime close air support. If you're going after all those Iranian patrol boats and fishing dhows, all those things. I still think that that airplane is a viable platform for at least 5 more years, maybe 10. And I'm telling you, the ground troops will always tell you they don't want F-16, they don't want F-35, they don't want F-15E, they want A-10. They want the hogs because they seriously, their mission is supporting the troops on the ground. And it does it so well. Hey, Michelle, welcome back. Again, those of you that are just joining, I've had some internet issues again. I don't know why it disconnected and reconnected, but we're back up. And everybody's telling me they can hear me and see me. So again, getting rid of the hog, I think, is another issue that somebody should be talking about. And if I'm not mistaken, and you guys correct me, there's a lot of people up on the hill right now that are saying, hang on a second. It may not be time to retire these things just yet, particularly if we have a big fight on the Korean Peninsula. Now, I will tell you, my buddy Joe Katazinski, who was on an episode recently, his son flies F-16s, and he was telling me Osan is now becoming what they call a super Viper wing. They've closed Kunsan and moved a squadron there. They're closing Misawa. Maybe not closing Misawa, deactivating the F-16 units at Misawa. And one of those is also at Osan now. There's going to be 4 F-16 squadrons at Osan. That's a lot of F-16s. Okay. So one from Kunsan, one from Misawa. Oh, the other place was Shaw. The gamblers from Shaw is actually moving to Osan, is what he told me. Okay. Fart of death. Bert. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, a full combat wing. That's the term he used, Wayne Rowe. A full combat wing. And I want you to think about that, okay? Because there'll be Block 50s, harm shooters, And of course, the bomb droppers, Block 42s, they have the big wide angle HUD and have the lantern on them too. So now you'll have that 4-squadron wing, the 51st wing, with the gamblers. I can't remember which squadron from Misawa. Misawa is going to get F-35s. So that's why one of their F-16s are coming down there. And it may be redesignated as another one. Okay. But 4 F-16 squadrons at one place. Oh, and then also 36. Hey, John. Yeah, John, I had to back out and come back in to make sure the connection was good. At Kadena, they're also going to have F-15EXs, and I think they're talking about 36 of them. It's gone back and forth, but they're talking about maybe even putting 48 F-15EXs at Kadena. And what I'm hoping they do is they stand back up the 12th, the 44th, and the 67th fighter squadrons. All right. The Dirty Dozen, the 12th. I used to have a hat that they sold at, believe it or not, at air shows. Politically incorrect now. Okay. The 12th was called the Dirty Dozen. And they had a hat that had a silhouette of an F-15 on the front of it. And it said Dirty Dozen Escort Service on the hat. The 44th was the Bats, the Vampires, famous squadron that goes all the way back to World War II. And then, of course, the 67th Fighter Squadron, the Fighting Cocks, also goes all the way back to World War II. So there's a possibility of 3 F-15EX squadrons being at Kadena within the next couple of years. All right. So you have the 4 F-16 squadrons, the 3 F-15E squadrons, and then I don't know if they're closing Kunsan down or if Kunsan's getting F-35s. I'd have to look that up. Oh, thanks, John, for that. First officer. Okay. Hey, John, former military. I'm just curious. And then you have F-35s at Misawa. That's a pretty potent mix of airplanes with 4 F-16 squadrons, harm shooters, and night attack at one place. 2 F-35 squadrons possibly at Misawa. And 3 F-15EX squadrons at Kadena. Like I said, I'm hoping the 18th wing stands back up with the 12th, the 44th, and the 67th. That would be awesome. Those were the 3 F-15E squadron. The F-15C model light gray air superiority squadrons that were at Kadena when I was there in the 90s. They deactivated the 67th. The 44th was the last one there. The 12th moved, I think, moved up to Alaska. But, just great stuff. Okay. John, I flew KC-135s for 24 years in the military. My book is called Tanker Pilot. All right. Let me put it in here. That's the name of the book. And those of you that want a copy, my email is right there. I sell them for $27. $7 is for posting and handling. $20 is for the book, and the money goes to the Airlift Tanker Association Heritage Committee. Basically, it allows people like me to go visit all the bases and talk about here's our mobility heritage. Here's some of the things we did. And obviously I do that from the tanker perspective. Okay. Michelle's on chapter 4. Good. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Michelle. I sold a whole bunch of copies while I was at Oshkosh, Michelle. All right. Hey, Brian. Welcome. Brian is one of the guys, one of the people I met at Oshkosh on Monday. Welcome, Brian. We had a great conversation, didn't we? So anyway, got to drink a little bit more here. So again, I hope again on the Hill they take a look at retiring the A-10s. That airplane, I think, is still a viable platform. Okay. Oh, Wayne, they are doing that. Okay. Wayne, I don't know if you've heard, but they're ramping up Tinian because there's like 4 runways there. Go look at it on Google Earth. Okay. And there's another one, excuse me, Wayne, there's another base between Guam, Anderson, and Tinian that they're also doing stuff at too. I can't remember the name of it. I can't remember the name of it, but it was another bomber base, B-29 base. It may have been on Rota, the island of Rota. I can't remember. John, when I was flying the KC-135, yes, we did have parachutes. Okay. They no longer have parachutes in the airplane. The parachutes had been there ever since Strategic Air Command was flying them, but they took them off in the 2000 timeframe. So anyway. Oh, 8JR fan, you have a great question there. Hypothetical question: would a stealth refueler be a good idea? And the reason that's a great question, 8 Junior fan, is because a lot of people are looking at that. The blended wing, Lockheed's answer to the next generation tanker is basically a flying wing. And I think Boeing has been looking at that too. So bases in the Pacific that may open up are Tinian, again, because it's those 4 runways are still there and they're 9,000 feet long. And I think there's 2 of them that they've completely reconstituted. And they actually had a KC-46 that landed and operated out of this other secondary base. I think it's on Rota, but they were doing like bare field operations, bare base operations, and had the KC-46 land there and had a crew like fuel it up and had it take off again. But that one, if I remember right, didn't have a lot of infrastructure, meaning parking and stuff like that. Okay. My jury is still out on a stealth refueling tanker. The first question you got to ask yourself is, why do I need a stealth tanker? Am I really going to fly my tanker into an environment where it has to have low observable properties? And I've gone back and forth with a bunch of my weapons school bros and sisters on this. I don't know. We'll find out. Okay. Kincaid, welcome. I've not seen your name here. I believe this is your first night here. Thanks for joining us. B2s into tankers. Geez, I don't know how you do that. Because you have to think about boom placement. Yeah, C-130, C-17s landing on the runways. Yeah. And, they're tearing out and reworking another runway. Jason, that's good to know. Because I'll tell you, folks, we need bases in the Pacific big time. And I heard from somebody while I was at Oshkosh, they're actually looking at Clark again. The the they had 2 runways at Clark, but they've since actually built a terminal over the west runway. So now they've only got the 1 runway. But here's the other thing. All of those parking stubs are still there. Folks, Google Earth is a great, great intelligence tool. Go look at these bases on Google Earth, okay? Because when you do, you'll go, wow, look at that. Look at the construction that's gone on here. And particularly for Clark, because of its proximity to the South China Sea. And if we ever got into even a Cold War or even a hot war in the South China Sea with China, then Clark and Subic Bay would be ideal. And the Subic Bay runway, the Navy base, still there. Piers, docks, still there. I don't know what kind of shape they're in. But I'm telling you now, a Red Horse unit, a civil engineering unit could go in there. I mean, we had a Red Horse unit that went into Talil Air Base in Iraq and opened it up within 48 hours or less, even after we'd bombed the place pretty good. Those Red Horse guys, civil engineer folks, do amazing, amazing work when it comes to doing this kind of stuff. So we have to build up bases throughout the Pacific because there's a potential for a war in the South China Sea, a war with Taiwan, and then, of course, a conflict on the Korean Peninsula between North and South Korea. And I know we had contingency plans for anything dealing with China. We didn't have a full up operations plan, O plan, but there was a contingency plan. But we had a full up O plan for defending South Korea from a North Korean invasion. And it was pretty chilling, to tell you the truth. Wayne, should the USAF have air superiority or air defense responsibility? I believe we should. And think about it, Wayne. We had Air Defense Command in the 60s and 70s, flying F-106s, F-102s, and then finally F-15s. Yeah, John, I have an uncle, same thing, flew F-102s and F-4s, and he's the reason that I'm a pilot now too. John, I'll tell you right now, Air Force is hurting for pilots, and with you being airline pilot, just about any guard or reserve unit would love to have you on so that you could continue flying with Southwest and fly, who knows, a fighter jet. With all of your flying time, John, you'd be primed for just about any guard or reserve unit if you wanted to continue flying with Southwest. Or if you want to, when your contract's up with Southwest, go active duty and do it that way. Again, you can. So, all right. 8 Junior fan, if you think they can hammer out the high-speed weapons bay release issue with the SR-72, do you think that would be a more viable option versus a slow, stealthy option? Actually, no, I don't. I don't believe that and this is just me personally, okay? 8 Junior fan, this is just my personal opinion. Something stealthy and fast like that is perfect for the reconnaissance mission. Could you arm it? Of course you could. Could you arm it with the weapons we have now? Probably. Could you arm it with the weapons that we're looking at in the future? Hypersonic missiles and stuff like that? Yeah, probably. But something that fast, low observable, is primed to be intelligence, ISR asset, intelligence, reconnaissance, and surveillance asset and platform. All right. Owen, hello to you too. Welcome. John, I just saw F-22s flying at Oshkosh, and they were incredible. Absolutely incredible airplanes. And that's the beast, okay? My tanker squadron, is it the 909th or the 97th, Wayne? It's in there. The F-22 is the beast, John. That is the beast. The F-35 is a good fighter, don't get me wrong. But when it comes to maneuverability, and I just left Oshkosh and saw the F-35 demo versus the F-22 demo, F-22 turns on a freaking dime because of the thrust vectoring system. It was just freaking amazing, okay? My favorite Air Force jet, obviously, this KC-135, which I flew. My top three are KC-135, F-15. I flew in the D model, which is the air superiority one, the two-seat D models. Third favorite Air Force airplane, actually my third favorite airplane is a S-3 Viking, because I got to fly in an S-3 Viking, Owen. I've got 10 catapult assisted takeoffs and 10 arrested landings on 8 aircraft carriers. A lot of that has to do with my work in instructing at the KC-135 Weapons School. Thoughts on the 6th gen fighter? You're right, John. There's not enough info on it just yet. But everything that I've heard, God, who was it? There was a general who gave a briefing recently that is in the know of the F-47, and he said it's a monster. The weapons capability, the ability to find targets, find, fix, and finish, as we say. Find, fix, track, target, engage, assess is our targeting cycle. Said that airplane is just a monster when it comes to that. And it's all AI and has a lot of AI stuff in it, okay? And here's the other thing too, all of you, and this is something I wanted to talk about tonight. Drones. The face of warfare has changed with the war in Ukraine and Russia and drone warfare. Traditionally, we've had drones that were gathering intelligence, reconnaissance, and surveillance on targets, engaging those targets. But go watch the 60 Minutes special that they did with Androl and Parker, what's his name? The CEO of that. And they actually let him see the collaborative combat aircraft, the CCA, that they're building and that won the contract. Yeah. Thank you, Wayne. Loyal wingman. Absolutely freaking amazing. So think about this. John Castillo, you're in your F-22 and you're in a 4-ship of F-22s, and each 4-ship has 4 of these collaborative combat aircraft. All right. And all of you are going in to punch some enemy's lights out, where the collaborative airplanes are using AI to find, fix, and finish targets. You're telling them hey, our priorities are these, and they're working out all of that. Uh, they're going in, breaking down the integrated air defense system so that it opens a hole into a country. Let's just use Iran, for a case in point, taking out the air defense systems in there with basically a highly maneuverable drone that is a fighter jet and is using artificial intelligence to find, fix, and finish targets, but is also being driven, or commanded, whatever you want to call it, from an F-22 or an F-35, or from the AWACS, or from a, a bank of computers and monitors in a KC-135. Those kinds of things. Um, it's really changed now, folks. And Anduril has won this collaborative combat aircraft. Anduril is a very fascinating company because they also make a reusable drone that goes out and hunts other drones and can attack targets. And if it doesn't find stuff, it comes back and lands, which is just crazy. Okay. The Mind. Welcome, The Mind. I've not seen you on here. Kay Roberts, welcome back. John, yeah, it's a teamwork vibe, okay? And yeah, obviously there's a hierarchical structure, okay? But think about it too, John. You know, we're command and controlling drones from Indian Springs in Nevada that are flying over Africa, Afghanistan, Iraq. And I'm sure these collaborative combat aircraft, CCA vehicles, will be able to do the same. So imagine they're called LREs, launch recovery elements, and basically it's a trailer that has a cockpit at both ends. So you walk in and there's two doors, one on your right, one on your left, and they both go into separate cockpits that are basically in command and control of a drone or command and control of one of these CCA vehicles, where it probably has AI driven intelligence, reconnaissance, surveillance equipment on it. It knows and sees what's happening around it. It's also analyzing the electronic spectrum for SAM sites, communications of things. And you also have the the F-22, the F-35 pilots also telling the thing what to do. And as you know, priorities on a battlefield change constantly. And I was really surprised at the number of drone companies that were at Oshkosh this year. And they were selling drones from everything from delivering Amazon orders all the way up to the night show, Saturday night show, was done with fireworks, drones, and airplanes that had pyrotechnics on them. And at one point, the drones actually created a P-51 in the air that was simulating going down the runway, prop spinning, and the P-51 actually did like a roll over the runway, except for it was stationary drones with lights on them, red, white, and blue lights on them. It was amazing to watch. Fireworks displays going off. The drones are imitating a P-51, and you had another airplane that was actually flying that had pyrotechnics on it that were doing all kinds of crazy things. It was seriously an incredible show to watch. And to program the drones to do those things, probably took a lot of time. Maybe it didn't. I don't know. Okay. How does situation awareness, John, differ in the KC versus airlines? In the airlines. John, I didn't fly in the airlines. Okay. I literally went cold turkey after I left the Air Force. I haven't flown an airplane since I left. My last flight was in May of 2003. Have not flown an airplane since. Been in several simulators though, John. And crazy thing is, John, it doesn't go away. I hopped in a KC-46 sim and flew that sucker around like I hadn't been out of the cockpit. Matter of fact, the instructor pilot says you fly this as good as any of the first any of the co-pilots. Okay, 757 driver, thank you for the super chat. Just saying howdy, grab a coffee and some suds. Got my my sparkling water here with me. But thank you for that. And John, and you got to remember the KC-135. I want you to remember this, okay? 757 driver, welcome back. It's great to have you back because you'd fit right in this discussion that we're having about the switches, the engine run switches, and that Indian air crash. Anyway, we didn't have any situational runners tools on the KC-135. We were called tanker toads ever since the 60s. And that was actually an acronym for toad. Wasn't about frogs. It was take off and die. Because we get so close to Russia that we were well within, their air defense envelope. Now, that has since changed. Particularly on the KC-46, it is built with Link 16 in the system. Okay, there's actually an unclassified drive and a classified drive that go in the KC-46. Now, in the KC-135, they now have what's called real-time information in the cockpit, RTIC, which we have been waiting for a long time, and it's a Link 16 basically on an iPad. It's not an iPad. It's a little thicker than an iPad, a little bit bigger than an iPad. But you can be taking off out of Salt Lake International Airport, and your receivers are mounting home F-15Es, and you can see them on the iPad. It's really good information. So it also shows altitude, airspeed, and for fighters, it shows weapons, how much gas they've got. So when they come up to the tanker, you'll know exactly what your receivers have in their tanks, what weapons they have, all those kinds of things on the icon for each of like the F-16s. Really great stuff. That is something recent, John, to the KC-135 cockpit. When I'm saying recent, I mean within the last couple of years. Okay. So, yeah, crazy. We relied on the AWACS, the rivet joint, to tell us if we had something threatening us. But I will tell you, anything threatening us had to get through a screen of F-15s or F-16s. It's called a high value asset combat air patrol, and all they're doing is defending the AWACS, the rivet joint, the Cobra Ball, the tankers, all those things, and that's how we were defended. And and it only has been within the last couple of years, John, that we're getting more and more information into the KC-135 cockpit. And I'll tell you something, all of you will be interested in this. There was a KC-135 on display from the Milwaukee Guard. They're called the Brew City tankers. And it had the LARCM system on it, the laser countermeasure system for man-portable air defense system, shoulder fire missiles, air-to-air missiles. It had that on it, on the bottom of it. All right. I got some pictures of it. And they're putting more and more of those systems on tankers because, seriously, our most vulnerable phase of flight is not when we're up refueling airplanes. It's when we're taking off and landing, when we're heavyweight, slow, climbing out, or lightweight coming in after a long mission, getting ready to land. The takeoff and landing phase is the most critical phase for a KC-135, and now they have this this laser countermeasures. It's called LARCM, and I can't remember what all it stands for, but maybe some of you do. But it basically blinds the seeker head of the coming missile with a laser and messes it up, and that's how we're protected. Okay, so all right, one of you had a question about 6th gen. Let me find it again. Who was it? Okay, one of you had a question about 6th gen. I'm trying to find it again here. Brian, it's great to have you with us, man. Brett, you asked the question. Brett, the airplane I hated refueling was the C5, because the bow wave on the C5 was would push us around. Matter of fact, we did a demo for a long time where the B-52 would move our boom, and it acts like a rudder. And some of you may have seen pictures of this. We're actually refueling and connected at 90 degrees. And we're doing this going downhill, bottoming out about 1.5 Gs, 2 Gs, coming back up the other side, going like this, 90 degrees again. And, they quit doing it, but it was just to show, hey, look, the laws of physics aren't any different when you're connected and you're refueling. All right. Great to have you here, Brian. Brett, did you ask me the question on the 6th gen fighter? Put it in here one more time. All right. Just so that, yeah, tankers are the biggest asset. That's why we say nobody kicks ass without tanker gas. Nobody. K. Roberts, a C-160 that had rocket pierce the nose cone. Oh my gosh. I saw one of those at an air show in Whidbey. No way something that big flies. No way. Yeah. The C5 was just a bear to refuel. And it was just because the bow wave on such a big airplane would push us around. And you have to remember, the airplane coming up underneath us causes the tanker to shift on its axis to go tail up, nose down. And you know what happens in an airplane that goes tail up, nose down? It wants to descend. And we actually had a training event that we had to do with autopilot off with a heavy receiver. And it was tough with a C5. And what you did was the boom operator would call every 10 feet. You start at 50 feet, which is the pre-contact position, and it would say, okay, 50, 40. And you go at 40. When you said 40, you go 1, 2, 3 with the trim, with the electronic elevator trim. 30, 1, 2, 3 with the trim. 20, 1, 2, 3 with the trim. 10, 1, 2, 3 with the trim. And then he'd connect. But if he backed out too fast, you had to run the trim the other way. Otherwise, the airplanes would come together. It was a little scary. Brian, the reason that you see a lot of video with the airplanes in a bank is because the way the air refueling airspace is set up. Two types of airspace, Brian. Excuse me. It's called an anchor area, and it's basically a left-hand, like NASCAR track, okay? It's a big oval. So it's 35 miles wide, 70 long, and that's why we're always in a left bank when we're refueling. The other one is just a straight track, and it'll go for 150 miles, particularly for B-52s when you're trying to put gas in. Now, we do B-52s in anchor areas. We also do them on long tracks. The B-52s that were going into Afghanistan and Iraq, Brian, were actually being refueled on both. So they'd fly a track system from Diego. They went to El Dorado and Durango, were the two air refueling tracks north of Diego Garcia. One was about an hour and a half north. One was about 3.5 hours north. They would take 80,000 pounds every time they did it. And then in Iraq, they would be on one of these racetracks, like I said, 35 miles wide, 70 miles long, and would get gas that way. So the two airspace formats that we used was, again, a long track and then like a NASCAR oval, left-hand turns, right? Oh, yeah. 8 Junior fan, the C5 is – I remember being in the headquarters one month when the C5 in commission rate, maintenance rate was above 70%, actually above 65. And the whole C5 community was clapping. They even brought out a cake. All right. And then the next month it was back down to 60 and 55 again. It's always been a tough airplane to maintain. Now, again, you have to remember the C5s have been through a complete refurb, new engines, new avionics, and everything like that. And they're flying in commission rate is a lot better. Okay. Wayne, you know which line I would love to see them restart? This is going to surprise some of you. The assembly line I would love to see them restart is the Douglas A1 Skyraider. I would love to see them restart the Douglas A1 Skyraider. That thing was an awesome airplane in many roles, both in the Navy and in the Air Force. And then right behind that, I'd start the A-10 line back up again. All right. Seriously. Those two airplanes were extremely well fit for the missions that they performed. And yeah, the A1 Skyraider was a flying tank, just like the A-10. Yeah, Wayne, CSAR. Well, it did close air support too, and it had almost as many external hard points as an A-10. And yeah, Sandy's. I mean, think about this too. If you had A1 Skyraiders again, one of the rockets that they carried was the 2.75-inch rocket, right? Well, now those are laser guided. So you can actually put precision guided munitions on an A1 Skyraider with those 2.75 rockets. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but a Mountain Home squadron just got home from the Gulf, and they were using that rocket pods, the 2.75 rocket pods, 3 to a wing. So they were carrying 42 of these 2.75 laser guided rockets. The Advanced Precision K weapon system. All of you know what K stands for. I think they call them Falco missiles or something like that. And they had on the side mission markings of the F-15E Strike Eagles, a lot of those pods, and they would have like red dots. They carry 7 rockets, and they'd have like red dots at the position where those things were, where they had fired them. Okay. Hater, welcome to the virtual bar night for the Lessons for the Cockpit show. I've not seen your name on here before. So I welcome you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Okay. Yeah. Sky Raiders, the A-10's father. Yep. Sky Raiders were on carrier decks, so yeah, Wayne, the crop duster thing, I never understood. I never understood why they got the air tractor. All right. Now, again, if they'd have reopened the A1 Skyraider line, I think that would have been perfect. You could have put that sensor ball on the A1 Skyraider. It could have had a modern cockpit. I mean, all kinds of stuff. And of course, it's got all of those external hard points. And I've heard that crews could turn those airplanes in like less than 10 minutes, load them all back up, send them all back out, refuel them, rearm them, send them back out really, really fast. Okay. All right. So we talked about the no tanker competition and why that makes me upset. We've talked about retiring the A-10s. I hope Congress gets involved with that. We've talked about the drones. And folks, like I said, at Oshkosh, there was a lot of people displaying their drones. And some of them were really big. Okay. I mean, as big as a kitchen table, and a family of 8 kitchen table. I mean, big. There was one in our building, Hangar D, and it probably had 20 uh, propeller engines on it and propellers on it. And it was made for hauling, like Amazon packages and stuff. I mean, crazy. Then we had the drone show. Okay. So, hey, good night, John Castillo. Hey, thanks for joining us tonight, John. And thank you for participating in the discussion. And again, I'm glad you disagreed with me because it makes for a great conversation. And to all of you, I am one of those people. I hope you disagree with me, because if you know more about a subject than mine, please speak up, because we're all about telling the truth here. Yeah, I'll watch that. John. John, are you on a trip right now, or are you on the East Coast? Because I know it's getting late on the East Coast. Okay. And oh yeah, the RA5C Vigilante, Wayne, that was a freaking rocket. All right. Riley Freeman, welcome to the virtual bar night for the Lessons from the Cockpit show. Not seen your name in the chat, and hope you enjoy being here. Okay, Riley. All right. Oh, okay. Welcome, John. Hey, John, fly safe. All right, brother. And I put my email in here in this chat. If you go back through it, you'll find it. And that's how I sell the book. Don't buy my book on Amazon because it doesn't have the color pictures in it. But thanks again, John, for joining us. Thoughts on the 6th gen fighter? I think I've kind of already answered that. And restart the B-58 line. Are you kidding me? You're welcome, brother. I have the copies that have the color pictures in them. And again, $27. I'll send you a Venmo link, that you can pay for it. It costs $7, $6.98 to send it out, because it goes printed material, and the $20 goes to the Heritage Foundation, the Heritage Committee at the Airlift Tanker Association. Okay. So, those of you that want a book, order them from me, because Amazon has black and white pictures. Mine are in color. And of course, if you get it from me, that means, as Michelle knows, and as Jason knows, I put very personal notes in all the books. Yeah, I will, John. I'll do that. Okay. Pierce Morgan and Captain Steve. I'll be sure to watch that. There's so much more I could say about Oshkosh, folks. I mean, where do you go to see, past meets future with an ME-262 taxiing in and an F-35 doing a demo above it? Where do you go to see, 13 or more P-51s in 2 rows lined up, some of them flying with the F-22? Where do you go to see 2 B-29s flying together, Doc and Fifi, over the airfield. I mean, just an incredible show there. We're going back again next year. And I've got a lot of video that I'm going to put up, and there's a lot of video out there on YouTube. I particularly want to put this, ME 262 F-35 clip that I talked about. But the other thing is not just the airplanes, folks. It's the different vendors that were there, exhibitors that were there. We had a pillow company, one down from us. We had Dominican Republic had their own booth, and they had a guy, a master cigar roller there that was making cigars right there in front of you, which was just amazing to watch. I mean, just amazing to watch. Hey, welcome back, Kenneth. All these drones, engines, avionics. Garmin had a huge, huge booth. Man, it was cold in the Garmin booth, man. It was really warm up there, like in the high 80s, low 90s. And if you wanted to cool off, you walked into the Garmin booth. Cirrus was there. The thing that surprised me, I'll tell you, there were a lot of airplane manufacturers there. And, I've seen the little Honda Jet that has the engine, up top. But there was other airplane manufacturers there that I had no idea even existed. There were engine manufacturers there. There were other avionics manufacturers there. I stood and talked with a bunch of guys that make pitot covers and covers for your airplane. Had a lot of fun talking with them. It's an incredible experience to see that level of display and exhibitors and 4 huge hangars. And then some of these folks that have big buildings. Boeing had a massive building. Airbus did too. But Boeing's was right on the Boeing Plaza where they parked the airplanes. And in the Boeing Plaza, they had the Douglas C-54 from the Berlin Airlift Historical Foundation. They had a KC-135, they had a C-130. Those of you that saw the live saw the Connie, saw Doc, the B-29, the KC-46, the Harrier. I mean, just all kinds of airplanes in there that were just incredible. One of the flying displays, they call it the Big Cat display. It was a 4-ship of a Wildcat, a Hellcat, a Bearcat, and a Tiger Cat. Grumman Ironworks. That was amazing to watch. All the 4 of those airplanes, going over. 8 Junior Fan, yeah, B-17 was there. Sentimental Journey was there. All right. Just an amazing experience. And I was there for the entire week. We were in our booth, my son and I, and we didn't get out on the ramp as much as we wanted to. Next year, there will be more people that are going to be helping us do this. So, I mean, it was crazy. Met a lot of new people there, like Brian. Saw a lot of my old friends there, like Taz. Boydo, who flies for UPS. Got to meet Taz's 2 sons. I showed you the shell. Okay. Brian, you may not have seen this. Let me show you this. I'll show it to you once again. For all of you new folks that are on for the first time, my buddy Taz has 2 boys that are in the military. Daniel, who flies F-16s, as I mentioned, and then his son, Matt, who's a surface warfare officer. Okay. And so they brought something for me, and I showed it the other night. I'm going to show it again real quick. Okay. This is a 5-inch shell expended from a U.S. Navy destroyer. Okay. All right. Look at the size of this thing. Let me back up a little bit. Maybe you see the whole thing. Okay. I finally weighed it. It weighs 16 pounds. Okay. And, you know, I've wanted one of these for a long time. Yeah. Rogers Ranger, welcome back. It's great to have you back. You can see the dent in it where it hit the deck. Okay. Kind of flattened it out. And it weighs 16 pounds. Okay. Now, obviously, doesn't have the bullet in it. All right. And it'd weigh a lot more. And obviously, it weighs a lot more with the powder in it, too. But I've always wanted one of those. And my good buddy Taz and his son brought that to me, which I really appreciate. Yeah, Michelle, a bathtub for small children. And it's just massive, man. It's just huge. And it's cool. Anyway. So, folks, I know we've been going for a while here. I'm going to end tonight with thanking you all once again for being here. I hope you've enjoyed the discussion about the competition for the tankers and my thoughts on that. Retiring the hogs, which I think is a big mistake. Drone warfare is a growing business and a growing employment on the battlefield. And I'll have more on Oshkosh as we go along. Again, I appreciate all of you joining me and listening to the rantings of a former tanker pilot. But I've got a lot of experience and I've seen a lot of things, and I appreciate all of you joining in, and particularly those of you who have been very active in the chat here. I really appreciate that. All right. I thank all of you for thanking me for my service. It was my honor and pleasure to do that, to fly KC-135s. And as I mentioned, if you want one of these stickers, and I've got 168 ready to print, everything from ME-109s all the way up to F-35s, 4, 6, and 8 feet printed on vinyl that you can pull off and stick on a wall. I'm starting to put charts and maps behind them, like from Kandahar and Bagram and Baghdad and stuff that people really enjoy, because now people are framing them instead of pulling them off and putting them on the wall like this. Okay. So, 8 Junior Fan, that's just the KC-135. There's so many more in there. F-105, Ryan Raider. There is a B-58 Hustler in the ready to print section. I'm working on a lot more. Helicopters, as I've told you, is kicking my butt. But I took a lot of pictures of the Apache and the MH-60 while I was at while I was at Oshkosh. That's where I got my Airbus hat, by the way. So hopefully I can draw those a lot better now, because I was able to get real close to them and take a lot of pictures of it. All right. There's a B-17 in there. There's no B-2, but I have the B-2 drawing. All I got to do is fill it in. There's not much to it, man, other than a dark airplane, because you wouldn't see any of the markings on it unless the gear doors are open. 8 Junior Fan, but you know, I do have an A-10 on there. Okay. Wayne, I have access to Pave Hawks because a guy at Lockheed actually does Pave Hawks. Tell me, Wayne, which unit you'd want to see. All right. I have a B-25, but again, 8 Junior Fan, which B-25 version do you want? My personal favorite is the 8-gun nose. the B25J that has all the guns, 8 forward firing 50s in the nose, the 250 packs on each side. I mean, think about that. 12, possibly 14 if the turret's turned around the right way, forward firing 50 caliber machine guns raking up someplace. Okay. And 8 Junior fan, let me put my email in here again. Right there. If there's a particular one that you want and particular markings, let me know. I've got a Doolittle one done. Okay. I think they were B models. So I've got like B's, C's, D's, J's. All of those are done. Okay. I just got to fill them in. My favorite unit for B-25s is obviously the Air Apaches and the squadron that was called the Bats Out of Hell because it had that big bat, plastered all over the nose. But they had another one that had the big beak on it too, the parrot nose too, which is really cool. All right, Wayne, that's good to know. And Wayne, email me with that information so that I can find it, because that may be easy to fill. Okay, and we'll talk about how I can get that to you. Okay, so next Tuesday night, I've moved this back to 7:30. I have a friend of mine who calls me every Thursday night and Sunday night, and we talk about aviation stuff and models and all kinds of stuff. So Apache, I'm working on 8 Junior fan. Anyway, so 7:30 is what I'm going to move. I'm going to move it back about a half hour. All right, Tuesday and Thursday nights. Okay. Again, folks, thanks. It's great to be with you, and I appreciate all of you joining me tonight. Sluggo, signing off here. Have a great weekend, folks. Be careful out there. There's a lot of crazy people on the road. Have a good night.